That's fair.
So bio, you care more about banning design than you do about banning no drink?
I would rather neither be banned, because I feel that
I understand that.
Yeah.
But if I were to ask you to choose one thing that you could perhaps give it a little on, out of the two options?
Why are we even right off the bat talking about banning at least one of them? Let's look at
No, I'm not. No,
alternatives.
I'm the
No,
one
yeah.
who's
It's not-
pushing
it's not banning.
that. So it's,
Yeah.
don't blame her. But I am saying that is my ultimate preference. I mean, we've
Sure,
already
and
banned it
I've
in our
heard you.
community. We've determined how to succeed without it. Maybe use us as an example, but we're also willing to help fund and add educational programs and help create a more prosperous agricultural enterprise. And I think the goal is to not hurt anyone, but also take into account that, you know, this is a chemical that's proven to be, you know, a health danger to our communities. And I think, on the one hand, I don't want anyone to starve, which I totally understand, but let's say that wasn't on the table. Let's say there was a way to get around that issue, meaning there are ways to subsidize those farmers, there's ways to add increases in prosperity and better productivity, there's ways to offer new types of work or re-educate those
Sure.
workers that are in the would you agree that it's important to not have chemicals in our water supply that are potentially
And
harming our citizens?
yeah, I mean, so on that note, we are willing to look into making Zion a lot more safe, and if that means working on it to the point that it no more exists and we replace it with something else, then that's fine. But it would have to be a phased-in approach.
So, I guess the reason why I brought up green payments and other things like that is that I feel like the only way to make this work is if there's options to help make sure that the farmer is able to either subsidize until they're up to speed on other ways of producing the same amount, or offer them compensation for being more ecologically friendly to the environment and protecting the citizens around them. And I think Ella's making a great point that there is also trending that's showing that the number of people willing to buy produce that's produced with these chemicals is on the decline. And I would hate to see us reacting to that down the road. Right?
And a couple of things, I think you're speaking from the perspective of Burford. I feel like you don't really have an understanding of what's going on in Pablo. I don't think there's a market for these organically produced products. I think maybe in Burford that exists, but it just is not the case. It's more important that farmers are producing enough just to get by. Second, I fully support adding other things in to sort of think about phasing out Zyme, not fully, but gradually, because it is an unsafe chemical. But I don't think green payments is necessarily the way to go. I think we can have a discussion about what other options.
To perhaps vouch for a farmer's market or some type of venue, or you know, perhaps your agency could buy some of the produce for its employees. I think that it is a real concern. I feel like if we're able to address that, the funding that you mentioned could be used to perhaps establish some sort of venue where...
I guess I would ask Consume if that's the issue. To me, what I was hearing your issue is that there's not enough food to put on the table.
That, I think that is my main concern, but...
Which potentially one of the things that we could look at is subsidized food coming from Burford to meet the market demand, even if yields were lower.
The funds for the program would come from some of the additional funds that Matt has towards this. However, the management of the program would reside within Pablo through the extension program, which would be jointly run between Pablo's farmers and a technical committee.
I mean, one simple alternative is to take the money that's on the table and just provide an outright tax credit that covers that cost differential between use design and its more costly alternatives. If it can be revenue neutral, then to the farmers doesn't incur any new costs. It means that our farming products remain the same cost level, so there's no price increase for consumers for consume, and at the same time reduces the use design, maintains the same cost of food, maintains the same cost for us as the farmers. And I think that will make everybody happy. I mean, the only issue is who would like to provide that subsidy. But I'm open to any
Subsidy for
suggestions.
tax?
A subsidy, a tax credit for design alternatives.
Basically a subsidy to the farmers of Pablo is what you're saying, that would enable, which is kind of what we were talking about, a subsidy to produce organically versus using those specific chemicals.
Yeah,
Could we-
anything.
Could we rebrand the green payments to use them towards that end? Because I mean, the whole
Yeah,
point of the
if you
green
wanted
payments
that.
is to reduce our chemical dependencies, right? So if we use the green payment dollars towards looking into researching non-Zan alternatives.
That's $100 million that's been cut from our commodity programs to finance the green payments is gonna go to Pablo farmers?
Well, this is something that I think Matt is looking into.
Cause that makes no sense.
Yeah, I think we need to pull out the money and then we can discuss that, how to deal with it, but that is something.
Okay, go for
I
it.
think, a farm would oppose a tax, and so for me, I don't need to have a tax, but I would like very much argue in favor of it, and it would allow me to spend more money to issues that are really important to you and to compensate you for paying a tax. And I would like to know if, provided that the money is spent wisely, whether or not you could go with a tax.
Can you elaborate what you mean by a tax, either compensating, my constituency?
Sure, basically there will be tax revenues, and if the tax revenues are spent on issues which are beneficial for you and which help you to overcome certain collective action problems and which help you to ensure that the water will be available for future generations, your children, if that is viable for you.
Raising taxes is gonna be, that issue is gonna be the hardest one for me to compromise on,
To concede,
to concede, and also to defend.
unless,
By principle, the tax is a way for the government to raise more money, and we think it's, you're masking it as, we're conserving these resources, but, if this tax is going to be making it more difficult for Burford farmers, and also if it is going to subsidize Pablo in any way, that's also going to cause uproar in my constituency. So that's me being honest with, it's very difficult for me to support that.
and so